Chapter 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Marvel, The King Comes Author, Marvel King, the story of an ordinary person who traveled through the Marvel world and gained the ability to devour, and began to devour superpowers one by one, becoming the king of the Marvel world. There are many female protagonists, and the protagonist gradually becomes the king of the Marvel world from an ordinary person. His initial ability is a physique changed by time travel, and he can devour stable abilities without any side effects. The system is only an auxiliary and can travel through planes. Marvel, The Coming of the King, Chapter 0001, Seeking the Desperate Virus. What is this place? Why am I here? That the feeling of weightlessness made Su-Jean a little uncomfortable, and he was confused looking at the confused environment around him. There were endless fires and explosions. Something seemed to be flying fast and shining in the air, and there were fierce sounds of fighting in the distance. Nima, this is Iron Man. That looking at the many steel suits flying in the air, Su-Jean thought, why did this scene look so familiar? This seems to be the last scene in the movie Iron Man 3. At the end, these steel suits exploded one after another. Su-Jean still felt regretful when watching it. Suddenly, Su-Jean covered his head hard, and felt waves of severe pain. It seemed that something suddenly appeared in his mind. After a while, he felt that the tearing pain disappeared, and he gasped for breath. There was a smile of surprise and joy hanging on the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect that I actually traveled to the world of Marvel and obtained the system. Just for a moment, a mechanized voice sounded in his mind, calling himself the King System Elf, and briefly explained the current situation. I don't know why I traveled to the world of Marvel and obtained this King System. This King System has its own mission of cultivating the strongest king. It can provide many functions, but it is only an assistant. Whether you can become a king still depends on your own efforts. Isn't it a fantasy that I, an ordinary person, come to Marvel, a world where superheroes and super criminals are everywhere, and want to become the king without help? Fortunately, it's not without any help. My physique has changed. Although it looks the same as before, according to the system, his body has been transformed when he traveled through time. It has the ability to devour and stabilize. To put it simply, he can devour any ability without worrying about stability and fusion. In other words, he can devour various abilities to his heart's content, and his body will automatically stabilize them to the most perfect level without worrying about danger. This is definitely the best help. You must know that there are too many abilities in the Marvel world, such as Super Serum, Hulk Serum, Extremis Virus, Centipede Serum, etc. These all have powerful abilities, but they also have flaws, disadvantages and dangers, but your body can completely ignore them. Trouble in this regard, of course, there are more powerful abilities, X-Men, or Thor. There are many abilities, the difference is whether you have the strength to get them. Especially now, the Battle of New York is over, which means that the Avengers have been formed, the plot has ended, and even the plot of Iron Man 3 is about to end. It is not so easy to obtain powerful abilities at this time. Su-Jean was really a little depressed. Why did he allow himself to travel to this time? But, it doesn't matter, there are so many abilities in this world anyway, not to mention that without these superheroes who have already appeared, wouldn't my road to king be too boring? Of course, it's not the time to think about this yet, because he is now in the midst of Iron Man and Aldrich. Near Killian's battle, whether it's Iron Man, the big boss Killian, or his desperate fighters who can self-destruct, they can kill him casually. Su-Jean found a place to hide, paying attention to the fighting situation, and at the same time quickly thinking about how to obtain the Extremis Virus. That's right, it's the Extremis Virus. This is a good thing. It has super self-healing ability, super physical strength, and can breathe fire. It can be said that it is much more powerful than the super serum injected by Captain America. With this thing, at least you don't have to worry about being injured or dying, and you can still control fire. Of course, the disadvantages of the desperate virus are also obvious. The chance of success is very low, and losers will self-destruct. If it weren't for his body's ability to stabilize everything, Su Zhan would never have paid attention to the extremist virus. This would be no different from committing suicide. Boom! There was a loud noise in the distance, as if a steel suit had exploded. From a distance, Tony could be seen. Stark sat on the ground embarrassed. It seemed that Killian should be inside the steel suit that just exploded, but Su Zhan knew that Killian was not dead. Sure enough, a moment later, Killian, whose whole body was like lava, appeared again, facing Tony. Stark walked over. The angry Killian and the panicked Tony Stark were about to be killed, but a woman suddenly appeared, Pepper. Pepper appears and knocks Killian away easily. Then, the iron suit locked on Little Pepper, but was easily defeated by Little Pepper. Careful! Tony Stark shouted hurriedly when he saw Killian appearing again and rushing toward Pepper. Little Pepper calmly picked up the arm of the steel suit on the ground and put it on his hand. The shock wave of his ability instantly hit Killian's body, and then Killian's soul flew away and was annihilated. What a pity! Looking at Killian, whose soul was annihilated, Su Zhan couldn't help but shook his head regretfully. He had originally planned to obtain the extremist virus from him. But, there is no chance now. Watching Tony Stark and Pepper Potts survive the catastrophe there, Tony Stark promised that Pepper Potts would be cured and started the cleanup process. In an instant, the steel suits in the sky exploded one after another, like gorgeous fireworks. What a pity, but fortunately, Iron Man is Iron Man, and it is impossible to truly give up the Iron Man suit and identity. Su Zhan looked at the steel suits self-destructing one after another in the sky, shook his head, and walked over slowly. There is still one, Tony shouted. Pepper raised the arm of the steel suit, and the blue hand cannon was already aimed at Su Zhan. Chinese, Tony was a little surprised when he saw Su Zhan coming out. Don't be nervous. I don't mean any harm. I'm here to help. This beautiful lady seems to be in trouble. Su Zhan raised his hand and said with a smile. However, Tony and Pepper did not let down their guard at all. At this time, a mysterious man suddenly appeared. How could they let down their guard? The extremist virus is not perfect, and I believe you have seen its shortcomings. I believe that Tony Stark, the famous Iron Man, will definitely find a way. But, no one can be sure whether time will be enough. It's a feeling of fear. It's not comfortable. So, I'm here to help. I can help her completely remove the extremist virus from her body. I do not believe. Real? Tony was skeptical, but Pepper was a little excited. Su Zhan shrugged. Well, actually I am here just for the extremist virus, but at the same time it also helps you, right? So, why not let me try? At least there will be no danger even if it fails, and we may not be enemies, at least, not now. Chapter 0002 Shockwave Girl. Tony. Pepper looked at Tony Stark, who hesitated and whispered. Jarvis, I want to know the identity of this man. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Su Zhan. Jarvis shouldn't be able to investigate my identity. Chapter 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Zhan said with a smile. As expected, Tony Stark had already received a reply from Jarvis. As expected, there was no information about his identity. Looking at Pepper's expectant eyes, Tony Stark said helplessly, although I don't believe you, I can let you try. But I warn you that you'd better not have any crooked ideas, otherwise I'll let you go. Rest assured. Su Zhan's target is just the extremist virus, not to mention that whether it is Iron Man or the future searcher and rescuer Pepper, he has no intention of becoming his enemy for the time being, at least until he has absolutely powerful abilities. Su Zhan walked up to Little Pepper, stretched out his hand and said, Relax, don't resist, the process may be a little painful, but I promise there won't be any danger. I don't want Iron Man and the Avengers to chase me, so don't worry. I'll be fine. Hey, what are you going to do? Seeing Su Zhan put his hand on Little Pepper, Tony shouted hurriedly. Su Zhan said calmly, Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to take advantage of her. Believe me, I'm not interested in other people's women. As he finished speaking, Sujan felt a sudden surge of power in his body, as if it could swallow everything. In an instant, he felt a special energy coming from his palm. Pepper Potts' expression was a little painful, and Tony Stark stared at her intently. This process lasted for 5 minutes. Sujan suddenly let go of Xiaojiao, his face was sweating profusely, and he sat on the ground exhausted. "Are you okay? How do you feel?" Tony Stark hurriedly supported Pepper and asked with concern. Pepper shook her head. "I'm fine. I can feel that the extremis virus has disappeared from my body and I can't feel it at all." "That's good, but let's go back and check it in detail," Tony Stark said worriedly. "What about him?" Little Pepper looked at Sujan. Sujan waved his hand. "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine after a while." "Let's go." Tony Stark was holding Pepper and preparing to leave. Although he was curious about who Sujan was and that he had the ability to absorb the extremis virus, but now, he was even more anxious to go back and check Pepper's body. Seeing Tony Stark and Pepper leaving, Sujan finally couldn't restrain his excitement and laughed. Success. It really worked. He could feel the changes in his body. The powerful power was exciting. With a thought, his arms instantly generated high temperatures, like magma. He stretched out his hand to touch the ground and could clearly see that the ground was being eroded rapidly. His arm returned to normal. Sujan picked up a piece of iron from the ruins and stabbed his arm hard. It hurt, but he wanted to laugh, because the wound is healing quickly. Although this super self-healing ability should not be comparable to Wolverine's almost abnormal self-healing effect, the effect of being able to grow back missing arms and legs is already very powerful. At least, Sujan doesn't have to worry about dying casually. He has a strong ability to survive. This is just the first step, just a beginning. Suppressing his excitement, Sujan said secretly, then turned around and left here. 3 days later, Sujan drove a convertible sports car, changed his outfit, and parked on the street. He was young, handsome and rich, and very attractive. After a while, Sujan had already rejected several beauties' attempts to strike up a conversation. As for where the sports car came from, well, is it difficult for Sujan to get money? He just found a rich man, had a friendly conversation with him and got what he wanted. As for whether he would get into trouble, he wasn't worried, because he needs to notice. In 3 days, Sujan had already figured out his next plan. He's joining S.H.I.E.L.D. That's right, joining S.H.I.E.L.D., although it sounds a bit frustrating, is his best choice at the moment. S.H.I.E.L.D. will be dismantled soon, Hydra will reappear, and joining S.H.I.E.L.D. will not be too restrictive. Moreover, his target is Phil Coulson, who was killed by Loki after the Battle of New York. Sujan still likes this good old man who was obviously killed but resurrected, and he will form a special agent team. According to the timeline, it is the plot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sujan's goal is to join this agent team. First of all, although I have integrated the extremis virus, I am not very strong in this huge Marvel world. If you want to become the king, you must become stronger. There are not many abilities that appear in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Relatively easy to obtain. With the help of S.H.I.E.L.D's resources, you can gradually become stronger, and you don't have to run around the world like a headless fly looking for abilities. Moreover, his identity as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent also allows him to have good contact with other superheroes, although it seems a bit depressing to join other people's forces and not be able to make the decision on his own. In fact, all he needs is an identity that is very suitable for his early development. But it's not that easy to join S.H.I.E.L.D. I believe Tony Stark should have informed S.H.I.E.L.D. of his news. However, for the time being, he has not felt that anyone from S.H.I.E.L.D. is monitoring him. After all, New York, the war has just ended, there are a lot of things to deal with. And even if someone comes to contact him and believes that he wants to join S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm afraid it won't be that easy, let alone join Phil Coulson's team. So what's the point of joining S.H.I.E.L.D.? Fortunately, he didn't know if he had the aura of the protagonist, or if it was not just his physique that changed when he traveled through time, but also the ability to make all your wishes come true. He discovered the heroine in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sky. The powerful hacker who just joined the Rising Tide organization will join Phil Coulson's team in the future and gradually understand his own life experience. The Inhumans, the superhero Shockwave Girl, can amplify the frequency of vibrations. Finally, she is the only agent with level 10 authority besides the one-eyed Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. But now, she has not joined S.H.I.E.L.D., so Su-Jean plans to contact her first, and then when she joins S.H.I.E.L.D., they can join together smoothly. Out. Seeing Sky coming out of the coffee shop nearby, with long brown curly hair shawl, wearing a jacket, and delicate facial features that seemed to be a combination of Chinese and Western, Su-Jean slowly started the car and followed. Chapter 0003 Black Widow. Please drink. Not far ahead, there was a white business car that looked old and shabby. This is Sky's car and Sky's home. After buying coffee, Sky walked towards the car, unaware that a sports car was already following him behind him. Opening the door, Sky got in the car. Su-Jean, who was behind, stopped the sports car and prepared to get out of the car and pass over. Just when he opened the door and got out of the car, a person suddenly appeared in front of him. Wearing tight-fitting jeans, a tight t-shirt, and long red hair, she turned out to be a very sexy and beautiful beauty with a curvy figure. Handsome guy, there is a bar nearby. Are you interested in chatting with me? Chapter 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The woman reached out to hold the car door and said to Su-Jean with the corners of her mouth raised. Su-Jean was slightly surprised, but returned to normal after a moment. This calm expression surprised the woman. It depends on whether the person I'm talking to is Natasha or the Black Widow. Su-Jean said with a smile, looking at her with unabashed eyes. As expected of her, she has a good figure and good looks. She is definitely one of a kind. Although it is not good to have a relationship with such a woman, the physical communication is still very good. Natasha smiled easily. Okay, I guessed that you would know my identity. So, what identity do you want me to use to talk to you? A woman, simply being a woman, is probably best. If you didn't steal this car, maybe I would be happy to talk to you simply as a woman. After all, you are still very attractive. Women are indeed realistic. Su-Jean shrugged in disappointment. Natasha's meaning was obvious. It was simply because Su-Jean's identity was mysterious and she couldn't be sure whether he was good or bad. He also committed robbery. She couldn't ignore it, and she couldn't just be a woman. Chat with him about his identity. I'm very curious about your origins and abilities. It's surprising that you can absorb the extremist virus and seem to be alive and well. Especially for someone who has no identity and background and seems to appear out of thin air. This is even more surprising. So, Mr. Su-Jean, no matter who I am, I think we should have a good chat. Natasha said seriously. Su-Jean glanced at Sky's car and seemed to have no intention of leaving for the time being. He nodded and said, how could I refuse the beautiful woman's warm invitation? What's more, in fact, I've always wanted to get to know you. Know me, why? Natasha asked curiously. Su-Jean looked at her and said, it's okay not to tell me the reason. Sure enough, men are all the same, none of them are good. Natasha rolled her eyes at him. There was a nearby bar. Because it was daytime, there were almost no people in the bar. In the corner, Su-Jean and Natasha sat down. Actually, I was thinking who would come to me, but I didn't expect it was you. Su-Jean took a sip of wine and said with a smile, I don't have much resistance to beautiful women, so you can ask whatever you want. I promise to answer you. This is my honor. So, Mr. Su-Jean, can you tell me your identity? Natasha said with a smile. My name is Su-Jean, Chinese. The reason why there is no identity information about me is because I did not exist in this world before. I think, there should be many people like this, and you should know it very well. But, now I want to live a little bit of the life I want, so there was no information about me before, but, there will definitely be in the future. Natasha nodded. She did know a lot about people like this who had no identity. It seemed that Su-Jean was probably a special person in China. As for saying it will happen in the future, it is also a statement of attitude. I just want to say that I have no ill intentions and have no intention of hiding my identity. What about your ability? You can absorb the extremis virus. What is your ability? The extremis virus has always been very unstable. If people know that you can stabilize the extremis virus, I think you should know the consequences. Natasha reminded. Su-Jean smiled. So, are you going to say that I'd better go to S.H.I.E.L.D. for protection? I don't mean it, but if you want, you are welcome to S.H.I.E.L.D. Natasha said with a smile. Forget it now, in the future, maybe it will be possible. Su-Jean declined with a smile. Actually, my ability isn't that special. It's no big deal. What's more, as long as I don't do anything bad, it doesn't matter what I have, right? At least, I shouldn't be able to threaten you now. Moreover, you can also turn me into someone from your side. After all, you are still very charming, maybe I will agree. Looking at the waist that was about to come out, Su-Jean said with value. Well, I always thought that Chinese people are very reserved, but now it seems, that's not the case. That's it for today. This is my phone number. I think, you will need her sometimes. Whether it's your personal needs, or other needs. Su-Jean smiled casually. Said a number, then stood up to say goodbye. Of course, I didn't forget to pay when I left. Natasha looked at his back and frowned. Identity, purpose unclear, familiar with S.H.I.E.L.D. or superheroes, unknown ability, seems to have the ability to devour and stabilize. At present it is difficult to judge whether it is good or bad, so it is recommended to focus on observation. Natasha pressed her ears and whispered. Isn't he interested in you? Then I'll leave it to you to investigate as much as possible about his identity and purpose. If necessary, take action. A voice came from Natasha's ears. Natasha frowned, thinking of Su-Jean's glib and cynical attitude. I'm afraid it would be difficult to investigate him. Chapter 0004, Chance Encounter. Sky. Natasha didn't think it was an easy task, but she didn't resist it. It is undeniable that Su-Jean is very charming. It is not that she has never been in contact with Chinese people, but Su-Jean is definitely the most charming person she has ever met. Su-Jean didn't go looking for Sky after coming out of the bar. He knew that Natasha would definitely follow and investigate him, but he didn't want to expose his purpose. If Sky's identity was exposed because of him and he failed to join S.H.I.E.L.D., wouldn't he be busy? What's more, the New York War has just ended. Phil Coulson should not be resurrected at this time, and it is impossible to form a team, so he is not in a hurry. Anyway, Natasha can't always follow him, right? It's not a bad idea to take advantage of this time to enjoy life. Therefore, Su-Jean seemed to be on vacation for the next period of time, very relaxed. He was having a great time, but Natasha was depressed. She followed him for more than a week, but found nothing. Su-Jean had never used his abilities or contacted anyone. He was just like a tourist. Although she suspected that Su-Jean deliberately confused her like this, she had no time to waste time with Su-Jean. After asking for instructions several times, she had no choice but to give up investigating Su-Jean temporarily. As soon as Natasha left, Su-Jean breathed a sigh of relief. Although he had a lot of fun during this period, he didn't come to this world just for fun. At least, it's not the time for him to enjoy it yet. As soon as Natasha left, Su-Jean was ready to contact Sky. Although Su-Jean seems to be on vacation these days, he has been following Sky closely. He even had a brief meeting and conversation in a coffee shop, but it didn't go in depth. After all, Natasha was still there at the time. Night falls quietly. Seeing Sky walking out of a restaurant, Su-Jean stepped on the accelerator hard and crashed into Sky's car while pretending to be in time control. Oh no! As soon as Sky came out, he saw that his car had been hit hard, and the rear of the car had even been dented. Sorry, I didn't pay attention for a moment. Are you the car owner? I will pay for the repairs. Su-Jean got out of the car and said apologetically to Sky. Sky was a little angry at first. After all, her car, which could even be said to be her home, was hit. But when she found the owner of the car, she suddenly said in surprise, "It's you." Sujan pretended to be confused and said, "Do you know me?" "Yes, I accidentally spilled your coffee in the coffee shop a few days ago. Do you remember?" "My name is Sky." Sky explained. Sujan pretended to be suddenly enlightened and said happily, "I remembered it. I didn't expect it was you. What a coincidence. My name is Sujan. What a coincidence. I spilled your coffee and you hit my car. I thought, you wouldn't be so stingy, would you?" Sky said jokingly. Sujan shrugged, "It was just an accident. At least you suffered much more losses than me." Sky looked at Sujan's sports car, and the collision was definitely much more serious than his own car. What's more, this kind of sports car is very expensive to repair, and the repair fee is probably worth more than your own car. "Do you know where there is a car repair place nearby? Let's go get the car repaired first." "Let me see." Sky took out his cell phone and fiddled with it. After a moment, he shook his head and said, "Unfortunately, there is no car repair place nearby, but I have contacted the car repair shop and someone should take care of it soon." "I'm so sorry," Sujan said apologetically. Chapter 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sky shook her head, indicating that it was nothing, but she was a little worried about where she wanted to live. From the look of the car, it was impossible to repair it in a short time. She usually lived in the car, and although she still had some money, she couldn't afford to go to a hotel to rest. "Is there any difficulty?" Looking at Sky's expression, Sujan certainly knew that she was in trouble, but he asked deliberately. Sky hesitated and said, "Yes, I'm homeless because my home needs to be sent for repairs." "You live in your car?" Sujan asked in surprise. Sky shrugged like Sujan just now. "Don't you think it's so free? When you wake up and open the door every day, you can see a different environment." "Well, since I made you temporarily homeless, give me a chance to make up for it. After all, leaving a beautiful woman homeless is easy to be punished by God. I will stay in a nearby hotel temporarily, if you don't mind. I can open a room for you." Sujan said. Sky responded noncommittally, took his mobile phone and quickly looked up the hotel Sujan mentioned, and then said, "It seems that it is not so easy for you to make up for it. It seems that the hotel you are staying in has no vacancies." "No way." Sujan was really surprised this time. "There is no way, everything is being rebuilt now, and the hotel business is much better than before. Not only the hotel you are staying in, but also several nearby hotels seem to have no vacancies." Sky said depressedly. Sujan really didn't expect such a coincidence, so he hesitated and said, "How about you stay in my room? The sofa in my room is pretty good. I think it should be good to sleep on. Of course, I don't want to let the beauty sleep on the sofa. Isn't this not good? Compared to living on the streets, I think it's better to live with a handsome guy, right?" "Okay, you succeeded in convincing me." Not long after the two chatted, the car repairman had already driven away. After leaving his contact information, he asked them to tow the car away. Of course, before towing away, Sky got into the car and took some things that he usually used, and then warned the car repairman not to touch or take things in the car, and then reluctantly let them leave. "Let me get it for you." Sujan took the initiative to take Sky's things and took her to the hotel where he was staying. Chapter 0005. Getting along happily with Sky. The environment is nice. You can afford to drive a sports car and stay in a hotel like this. Are you rich? After entering the room, Sky asked Sujan curiously. "It's okay." Sujan put her things away and said casually. Sky curled her lips. She could tell that Sujan deliberately didn't want to say anything, but now she was a little curious and started to investigate his identity with her phone. After all, if you want to live with him, it's better to get to know him a little bit. However, she was surprised to find that she could not find out Sujan's identity. There was no trace of the internet or identification, so she didn't believe it. "You can do whatever you want, I'll take a shower." Sujan said something and then went to the bathroom. Sky responded, taking out his notebook and waving his fingers quickly. Entering the bathroom, Su Zhan filled the bathtub with cold water and put his fingers in the bathtub to release his power slightly. His fingers turned slightly red, and before long, the water in the bathtub began to boil. The water temperature is just right. Su Zhan nodded with satisfaction and started drinking. This is one of the abilities of the extremis virus, which causes the body to release high temperatures and become like lava. Although he was playing during this period, he did not stop mastering his abilities. From being unable to stabilize himself at the beginning, now he has made parts of his body activate high temperatures and controlled them, which is considered very handy. It's a pity that there is no chance to truly test one's ability. If used against ordinary people, it would be a bit too bullying. There is really no information at all. How is this possible? Who is he? In the living room, Sky looked at the computer in disbelief. She tried every means to investigate Su Zhan, but she found nothing, as if there was no such person in the world. He is definitely not an ordinary person. Sky had just joined the Rising Tide organization, with the purpose of making the hidden facts known to the public. Now she suddenly met a man with no identity and no past, which aroused her curiosity. Originally she was a little depressed because the car was hit, but now, she thinks it is a good thing. Half an hour later, Su Zhan came out of the shower. He was dressed simply in casual pants and a t-shirt, but he showed off his good physique. Su Zhan came over and sat down next to Sky, and started chatting with her casually. Most of the conversation was about daily experiences, and they also talked about a lot of things about China. After all, the mountains and rivers in China are much better than here. Sky was very curious about him and asked many circumstantial questions, but Su Zhan ignored them all. The two of them had their own thoughts, and they talked happily. Before we knew it, night fell. Sky went to the bedroom, while Su Zhan was about to rest on the sofa. "Good night." Sky stood at the door and said something to Su Zhan. "Good night." Sky closed the door and Su Zhan lay on the sofa and smiled. "Looks like it's going well." That night, Sky didn't sleep very well. There was a man outside, and he was also a mysterious man. Whether it was curiosity, nervousness, or a sudden change of environment, it was not easy for her to fall asleep. I don't know how long it took to toss and turn before I fell asleep. When she woke up, the sun was shining brightly outside the window. She looked at the time and saw that it was almost noon. "Are you awake? How did you sleep?" Su Zhan asked. Sky smiled. "Not bad. I just asked the person who repaired the car. It may take 2 or 3 days to repair it. Do you have anything urgent? If not, how about you go shopping with me these days? I have been traveling alone, and I want to experience the envy of walking down the street." "Envy? Why?" Sky was a little curious. "Because I have a beautiful woman accompanying me, of course others will be envious when they see her." Su Zhan said with a smile. Sky smiled and said, "You really know how to make girls happy. You have a lot of girlfriends, right?" I said I never had a girlfriend. Do you believe me? No way. Then you are still. Looking at Su Zhan's appearance, Sky was surprised. Su Zhan is so handsome and charming, how could it be possible that he has never had a woman? Su Zhan shrugged and said helplessly, "Isn't it worthy of your surprise? Have you ever had many boyfriends?" Sky shrugged in a similar way. "I've thought about it, but I haven't met that person yet, not to mention. I don't have the intention of falling in love right now." "Very good." Su Zhan smiled. Chapter 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's good? It's nothing, I just think it's good that I haven't had a girlfriend and you haven't had a boyfriend. Sky looked at Su Zhan and said, "You don't look like you've never had a girlfriend, but you look a bit like a playboy." "Even if I'm a playboy, I'm not the Stark type." The sun was shining brightly and there were no clouds in the sky. It was indeed different to have a beautiful woman by his side, and Su Zhan did experience that enviable feeling. I have to say that Sky had a great figure and was very beautiful. Perhaps it was to satisfy Su Zhan's lack of manly dignity. Sky even dressed up specially. Her appearance feels like a combination of Chinese and Western. After all, she is of mixed race and her mother is Chinese, the two of them are quite a match together, and with Sky here, you can always find a good place, or a restaurant that is relatively remote but tastes great. As they get along, the strangeness between the two gradually disappears, they become more and more familiar, and they become more and more comfortable getting along with each other. Sky was alone, so she enjoyed being with Su-Jean, which was something she had never experienced before. Chapter 0006 Confession. After spending several days together day and night, Su-Jean found that he was becoming more and more fond of Sky. If Su-Jean hoped to enter S.H.I.E.L.D. through her at the beginning, and she was also beautiful and had a good figure, and she was completely in line with the instinct of men to appreciate women, then now Su-Jean found that he was attracted to her, got a feeling, he believed that Sky was the same way. The two have not made their relationship clear, and there has been no breakthrough. Now it can only be said that they have a mutual affection, or a vague period of ambiguity. What's the saying? Happy times are always short-lived. The car was repaired. Once the car is repaired, there is no reason for Sky to continue living with Su-Jean, and they may even separate. So Su-Jean was thinking about whether to reveal his identity. Sky is a hacker and a member of the Rising Tide organization. To put it bluntly, she is not a person with a clean background. She has never told her identity. Obviously she has concerns or worries. Su-Jean could also feel that Sky was curious about his identity, and he didn't believe that Sky didn't investigate him. However, Sky never made it clear and pretended not to know. Therefore, Su-Jean wanted to know whether Sky just wanted to enjoy the beauty of this period of time, or whether he was serious about it. The most important thing is that Su-Jean himself fell in love with Sky, so naturally he couldn't let her go. Boom! Sky opened the door and came out of the bedroom, still carrying her things. It was obvious that she was getting ready to leave. Su-Jean looked at Sky, her expression was hesitant and reluctant. Are you leaving? Yes, the car has been repaired, and I can't stay here all the time. What's more, I have other things to do, so. Sky couldn't go on. She didn't understand how she could be so short. Falling in love with someone within a few days, but she knew her inner feelings, and she didn't believe she would be separated from Su-Jean so soon. For a lonely person, it is impossible to become dependent on or reluctant to leave someone easily, but once it happens, it is difficult to forget. Before you leave, I have something very important to clarify. Although it is a bit ridiculous and unexpected, this matter must be clarified. Su-Jean said seriously. Sky put down his things and walked to sit next to Su-Jean. I said before that it's true that I've never been in love. Maybe. I'm a playboy, and I can't help but have thoughts about beautiful women, but it's just a man's thoughts about women, not feelings. But this, after a few days of getting along, I found that I like you. So, Sky, can you be my girlfriend? Su-Jean looked at Sky and said very, very seriously. The sudden confession made Sky very happy, but she didn't expect that Su-Jean also liked her. Only. Su-Jean, actually. I like you just as much, but I'm sorry, I can't be with you, because I. Sky was in pain. She was a hacker, someone who specialized in fighting against the government and S.H.I.E.L.D. hacker. Although she guessed that Su-Jean's identity was not that simple, it was just a guess and she didn't want to implicate Su-Jean. What's more, she still has her own purpose. She provoked S.H.I.E.L.D. just to attract S.H.I.E.L.D.'s attention, so that she could join S.H.I.E.L.D. and investigate her life experience and who her parents were. I know you have concerns, and so do I. I have been hesitating to tell you these days. My identity is actually very special. I am from China, but my memory is incomplete. I have lost a lot of memories. I am like the helpless child came here, not knowing what to do. Until I met you, it was as if life suddenly had meaning. I know you may mind this. No. Sky interrupted Su-Jean. She didn't expect that Su-Jean would tell her his secrets, let alone that his memory was incomplete. She could imagine a person losing his memory and coming here alone. Helpless. I don't mind. Although I don't know what happened to you, trust me, I will help you find out. Sky said seriously. The past is always just the past. I actually don't care. What I look forward to more is the future, and I look forward to having you in the future. Su-Jean grabbed Sky's hand and looked at her expectantly. Although Su-Jean felt a little sorry for Sky by fabricating the story about losing his memory, this was the most appropriate reason. How else to say? Am I a time traveler? Did I come to this world to be a king? I'm afraid that even if Sky likes him, it might be difficult for him to accept it. What's more, regardless of feelings, Su-Jean also needs Sky's abilities. Not her abilities as in human shockwave, but her hacking skills. In the future, I will definitely work alone and create my own force. Sky's ability is very important. Actually, I have a secret that I haven't told you. I'm a hacker, a very powerful hacker. I just joined a non-governmental organization called Rising Tide. Therefore, it may be very troublesome in the future. I'm afraid of implicating you. Sky said. Su-Jean smiled. Don't worry, I will protect you. As for being implicated, maybe I am implicating you. After all, I am now being targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D. Are you being targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D.? Sky suddenly asked nervously. Su-Jean nodded and said, yes, I met the Black Widow before I met you. She followed me for a while. She probably didn't find anything, so she left. Why? Maybe it's because of my special abilities. Chapter 0007 Burning John. Special power? Yes, you should know that there are many superpowers in the world, such as the Avengers, the X-Men, etc. I also have special abilities. However, I am not a mutant. This ability should be innate and suddenly awakened. It is a feeling that I can swallow all energy without causing any adverse reactions. I absorbed the extremis virus before, so S.H.I.E.L.D. discovered me and also discovered I don't have any identity, so they won't trust you, especially after knowing your ability. They will probably take you to S.H.I.E.L.D. for research. No. I absolutely cannot let them capture you. Sky thought for a moment, took out the computer and started dancing with her fingers quickly. What are you doing? Su-Jean asked curiously. Help you delete your recent records so they don't find you, and then let's get out of here right away. Sky said. Wait a minute. Su-Jean called to her. Believe me, I can do it. Sky thought he didn't believe in his ability. Chapter 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su-Jean said, I believe you can do it, but there is no need. I can't keep hiding like this. What's more, I told Black Widow that I won't hide, so they won't look for me for the time being. Trouble. What's more, it's not that easy for them to catch me. Really, if I have a chance, I'll show you my abilities and you'll know. Su-Jean said confidently. Then, okay. Sky stopped hesitantly. However, this is still not safe. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. has not done anything to you for the time being, it is not a good thing to be targeted by them. You're right, then, let's leave now. Originally it was just Sky who was leaving, but now the two of them hit the road together and left the hotel. Sky and Su-Jean's cars were parked nearby. Su-Jean took one look and got directly into Sky's car. What about your car? Sky asked. You said that your car is your home. Since I am your boyfriend, of course I want to be with you. I don't want this car. Su-Jean said casually. Okay. Although Sky felt a little pity, he preferred Su-Jean's statement. The two got into Sky's car and left quickly. Sky has long been used to this kind of wandering life. The difference is that she now has a man by her side, her man. While walking, the relationship between the two of them is getting better and better. They are almost used to holding hands and hugging, especially when sleeping at night. Although the space in the car is not small, it is definitely not big. Avoid it. They slept together. Although nothing happened, the feeling of sleeping in each other's arms was enough to make the relationship between the two improve by leaps and bounds. There seems to be a good restaurant here. let's go try it. Su Zhan took his mobile phone and browsed nearby restaurants and found one that seemed good. He said to Sky excitedly. Listen to you. Sky said with a smile, driving near the restaurant. Sky said, you go in first, I'll park the car and go there. Good. Su Zhan got out of the car and was about to find a seat first. As soon as he got in, someone happened to come out. Unexpectedly, the two of them bumped into each other. Su Zhan's body had been modified by the extremis virus. After being hit, he didn't move at all. The man took several steps back. Are you blind? Before Su Zhan could speak, the man had already cursed. Su Zhan frowned slightly. Yellow-skinned monkey, I'm talking to you, are you blind? Or, are you looking for death? Very good. Su Zhan was angry, looked at the man and said, boy, I'm pretty sure he's blind, but you're the one who's blind. It seems you are really looking for death. Honey, what's wrong? At this time, Sky parked the car and came over. Seeing that Su Zhan seemed to be arguing with someone, he hurriedly came over. Su Zhan turned around and smiled. It's nothing. I haven't had the chance to let you know how powerful your boyfriend is. Now, the opportunity has come. Boy, there are too many people here. Let's change places to chat. Just what I wanted. The man sneered and walked towards the alley next to him. Honey, what's going on? Sky asked worriedly. Su Zhan smiled and said, it's nothing, it's just that someone is looking for death, and there's nothing I can do about it. With that said, Su Zhan had already followed. Sky frowned and followed him while fiddling with his phone. This is a dead end. The man stood there and looked at Su Zhan with a sneer. Honey, be careful, his name is John, he is a mutant. Sky whispered to Su Zhan. Su Zhan was a little surprised. Burning John. Do you know my identity? It's too late. Today I will let you know what will happen if you offend me, Burning Man John. Burning Man John said ferociously, and a lighter appeared in his hand. Snap, the flames came out and became more intense, dancing continuously in John's hands. It's interesting, that the corners of Su Zhan's mouth curled up slightly. Because of Shield and Sky, he had not specifically sought out anyone to gain abilities during this period. Unexpectedly, he met Pyro John by chance. This Pyro John is considered a villain. He has joined Magneto's Brotherhood of Mutants. He can control fire, but cannot create fire. In terms of ability, he is not very strong. However, it is more in line with my own development. He can now generate high temperatures, like magma, but cannot create flames. Originally, he planned to wait until he joined S.H.I.E.L.D., where he would meet a superpower from Hong Kong. He could create flames, and because his platelets were resistant he has the ability to use fire, so he is not afraid of being burned by flames at all. Su Zhan's goal was his ability to create flames. As for burns, it had no effect on him at all. However, if you can get John's fire control ability and create fire when the time comes, your strength will be greatly enhanced. John the Burning Man, you are really blind. How dare you find trouble with me? This is what the legend says. If you don't take the road to heaven, hell will have no way to enter. Chapter 0008 Capturing Ability. Although this was Su Zhan's first battle, he was not panicked, even if his opponent was a mutant who was already somewhat famous and had experienced several battles. Honey, stay away. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Su Zhan did not fight, but calmly said to Sky. Although Sky was worried, he could not help much, so he could only stay away and try not to let Su Zhan be distracted by him. Seeing the flames of Pyro John on the opposite side getting stronger, Su Zhan moved his shoulders and wrists, then suddenly exerted force on his heels, and rushed out in an instant. Soon. Su Zhan was a little surprised when he was approaching. There were still dozens of meters away, but in the blink of an eye, he found that he was already in front of Burning Man John. Burning Man John seemed to be frightened by Su Zhan's super speed. He pushed his hand forward and the flames went straight towards Su Zhan. The heat wave hit his face. Su Zhan dodged to the side, dodged and then moved forward again. However, The flame was chasing after him like a gangrene attached to the bone, and it was moving very quickly. Su Zhan used his strong physical fitness and speed to keep moving, trying to find opportunities to get close to Burning Man John. However, Burning Man John's combat experience was indeed very rich, and he controlled the flames so that Su Zhan had no chance to get close. "Is this all you have? I thought you were shouting at me because of how powerful you were, but it turns out it was just words." "Don't worry, I promise, you will see how powerful I am," Su Zhan sneered. Although he had not been close to Burning John so far and even had to avoid the flames, he was not panicked because the heat of the flames had no effect on him at all. His own high temperature was higher than the temperature of the flames. Much. To put it simply, he could completely ignore this flame because it couldn't hurt him at all. The reason why he didn't do that was because he was familiar with it. Being familiar with the body's abilities and these changes will also increase your combat experience. After all, ability is very important, but sometimes ability does not determine everything, and it cannot determine victory or defeat. He found that his physical fitness was still increasing. In other words, although he had absorbed the extremis virus and integrated it perfectly, he had not fully developed the ability of the extremis virus, and he could still improve. At least in terms of speed, Pyro John's flames couldn't catch up with him. Chapter 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Can you hide like a mouse? Okay, I'll see how long you can hide. That when Pyro John saw that Su Zhan was not solved cleanly, he sneered ferociously, and suddenly a part of the flames rushed towards Sky. Keep hiding if you can, Pyro John laughed proudly. Damn it, Su Zhan didn't expect that he would be so mean and attack Sky. Without thinking much, he turned around and ran in Sky's direction. The speed increased to the limit, and he even felt that he was almost flying. He finally caught up with the flames, but was too late to push Sky away and could only block in front of her. Careful, Sky woke up from a dream and shouted hurriedly, unfortunately it's too late. No. Seeing the flames hitting Su Zhan's body, Sky yelled crazily. However, Pyro John did not stop. The flames were like bullets, hitting Su Zhan crazily, bang 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 bang, there were constant sounds, and Su Zhan's whole body was engulfed in flames. Huh, you killed yourself for a woman. What a fool. Unfortunately, even if you die, your woman will also die. Pyro John laughed proudly and walked over slowly. A yellow-skinned monkey is a yellow-skinned monkey, and it can never be. Pyroman John's proud laughter stopped abruptly, and he looked at the figure gradually emerging from the flames in disbelief. It's red like lava, and combined with the flames, it feels like the king of hell is coming. No, this is impossible. How can you be okay? Seeing Su Zhan's clothes in pieces, his body like the surface of magma, and his stern expression, Pyro John shouted in disbelief while controlling the flames to attack continuously. However, these flames had no effect on Su Zhan's body. That's it? Is this the only thing you can do? Burning John, you disappoint me so much. If you hadn't attacked my woman, maybe I would have played with you for a while longer, but now, it is an honor to be the first cornerstone of the road to kingship. Su Zhan's voice seemed to come from the netherworld, which made Burning John feel fear deep in his heart, and he subconsciously stepped back to stay away. Whoosh! Su Zhan suddenly moved, and in an instant he was in front of Burning Man John, grabbed his neck forcefully and lifted him up. The scalding high temperature made Pyro John scream in agony. He could control fire and prevent himself from being burned by the flames. He even had a certain ability to withstand high temperatures, but the temperature Su Zhan gave off was too high and there was no flame. Just the kind of heat that melts everything. He felt as if his neck was about to melt. He struggled hard and controlled the flames with both hands to continuously hit Su Zhan, but it did not hurt Su Zhan at all. He finally realized how ridiculous his complacency was before, thinking that his flames were chasing Su Zhan everywhere. It turned out that Su Zhan was not afraid of his flames at all and was just teasing him. He was scared, he regretted, and he didn't want to die. Apologize, beg for mercy. He no longer cared about face Fear made him just want to beg the other party to let him go, but he couldn't make a sound at all. His power was getting weaker and weaker, and the flames were gradually out of his control. He seemed to feel that a force in his body was being absorbed by the other party's hand and leaving his body. Crack! Su-Jean let go of his hand, and Pyro-John collapsed to the ground. He felt that he was about to lose consciousness. In a daze, he seemed to see that Su-Jean's body had returned to normal. But when he raised his hands, a ball of flame was beating between his hands, manipulating it to change in various ways. Appearance. This is my ability. You actually took away my ability. You are a devil, you are a devil. Pyro-John almost used up his maximum strength and shouted hysterically. Su-Jean glanced at him and slowly raised his palm, the flames beating manically. No. A shout came, and Su-Jean stopped and looked at Sky, who was running over. Sky shook his head slightly. My dear, don't kill him, otherwise we will be in trouble. No, kill me, kill me. Pyro-John shouted crazily. When he lost his ability, he lost his value. Magneto would no longer care about him. Losing his ability meant more to him than death is even more painful. Su-Jean clapped his hands and the flame disappeared instantly, then bent down and picked up the lighter that John had used before. Let's go. Sky nodded, and he and Su-Jean turned around and left the alley, leaving Pyro-John lying on the ground with desperate eyes and screams. Chapter 0009. Is S.H.I.E.L.D. inviting? Su-Jean couldn't help but smile bitterly when he looked at the burned clothes. It's not easy to be a superhero. If he had the chance, he would actually get a battle suit or something like that, not for the sake of popularity, but for convenience. Otherwise, it would be too depressing if it ended up like this every time. He couldn't help but think of the Hulk. His pants have always been one of Marvel's unsolved mysteries. They are always good. Speaking of the Hulk, it would be awesome if he could get his powers. At least he would be invincible on Earth. However, by absorbing Burning John's ability just now, he discovered a problem. That is, although he can absorb the ability through the contact of his palms, it is not that easy, especially when the other party resists, and the resistance he receives is very high. Powerful, desperate virus, fire control ability. The first time was because Chili Pepper had no resistance at all, not to mention it was a serum ability, so it was easier and smoother. The ability to control fire is John's innate talent. It is caused by the X gene, so it is very difficult to absorb, especially when he resists. At first, he couldn't absorb it at all. If it weren't for his own high temperature that hurt John. I'm afraid the absorption is definitely not that smooth, although it is completely impossible to easily devour and absorb the opponent's ability by clapping your hands. It can only be absorbed when the opponent is unprepared or unable to resist, and different abilities will cause different resistances. Therefore, don't think about the Hulk's ability for the time being. I'm afraid that even if he stood there without resistance and let himself absorb it, he wouldn't be able to absorb it. As long as you keep getting stronger, you may be able to do it when you are strong enough. Of course, no matter what, this time I also absorbed the ability to control fire, and if this ability is used well, it is still good. Therefore, although his clothes were ruined, Su-Jean was still in a good mood. Sorry, Sky, I'm afraid we won't be able to eat this meal. Su-Jean said apologetically to Sky, who was looking for clothes for him. Sky shook her head. It doesn't matter, it's just that we have to get out of here now. After saying that, she handed the clothes to Su-Jean, then turned around and prepared to drive. Su-Jean changed his clothes and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Sky seemed calm. It seemed that she was not afraid or had any thoughts because of her abilities. Thinking about it, after all, there are so many people with abilities in this world, and Sky has specially studied these, so he won't be too panicked. Pyro-John's loss of abilities will definitely be known. Let's not talk about the Brotherhood of Mutants for the time being. S.H.I.E.L.D. must know that it was done by him. After all, although Black Widow is not here, S.H.I.E.L.D. has the means to monitor people. But he is very smart, and he must have been monitoring himself during this period. Even if they don't, the characteristics of taking the ability will remind them of themselves. Chapter 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But what happened this time was an accident. It was John who took the initiative to find trouble. What's more, John is not a good bird, so apart from making S.H.I.E.L.D. more wary of him, there shouldn't be any trouble. Squeak! The sound of rapid braking interrupted Su-Jean's thinking. What's wrong? Su-Jean asked hurriedly. I'm afraid, we are in trouble. Sky said in a deep voice. Outside the car, a black Jeep blocked the way. With its pitch-black body and highly reinforced glass, it was obvious at first glance that it was not something that ordinary people could afford. Stay in the car. Su-Jean said something and got out of the car with a lighter. Black Widow was wearing a black tights and leaning on the Jeep. Watching Su-Jean come down, Black Widow flipped her hair and said with a smile, I knew you wouldn't be so honest, but I didn't expect to take action so soon. Burning John, his ability shouldn't be that strong, right? I didn't expect you to choose his ability. Su-Jean played with the lighter in his hand, and the flames flickered. I also know that you will definitely continue to monitor me, so you should know that it was him who took the initiative to cause trouble for me. Yes, but don't you think it's too coincidental? You happened to be going to that restaurant, and you had a conflict when he came out. Black Widow squinted her eyes and stared at the lighter in his hand. It was obvious that she was on guard. What is known so far is that he absorbed the Extremis virus and Pyro John's abilities, but who knows if he has other abilities. How could Black Widow take such a dangerous person lightly? Believe it or not, it's up to you. Anyway, you never trust anyone. Su-Jean said with a shrug. So, let's talk about your reason for coming. You don't just want to scare me, right? You probably don't have that much time. Okay, I'm here to invite you and your little girlfriend to S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow curled her lips and said. What if I say no? Su-Jean squinted his eyes and stopped swinging the lighter. Hey, don't be nervous. Things are not what you think. In other words, it is not aimed at you, but at your little girlfriend. The hackers of the Rising Tide organization have been very active recently. They have been publishing some news that shouldn't be known to the world. Black Widow said with a smile. Su-Jean curled his lips. It doesn't make any difference to me whether you target her. S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm not interested at the moment, so you can go back. What if I say no? Black Widow said the exact same thing. Su-Jean curled his lips. Then we can only fight. Seriously? I don't offend anyone unless they offend me. I really want to maintain a very friendly relationship with you and S.H.I.E.L.D., but the premise is, don't take any chances with me or the people around me. Su-Jean said and glanced at Black Widow, then turned around and got into the car. Let's go. Su-Jean said to Sky. Sky started the car and drove away slowly, but Black Widow didn't stop her. I won't offend others unless they offend me. How long has it been since you became boyfriend and girlfriend with a hacker from the Rising Tide organization? How do you expect me to believe that what you say is true? Black Widow murmured, underestimating in one sentence. He turned around and got in the car. Chapter 0010 Women's Intuition, Trident Base, S.H.I.E.L.D. Headquarters. One-eyed director Nick Fury wore his iconic black trench coat and looked at the virtual screen in front of him. The picture on the screen was the scene of Su-Jean fighting with John. Nick Fury pressed the remote control and held the document about Su-Jean in his hand. There is a list in S.H.I.E.L.D. This list contains people with superpowers. Of course, it is also considered a monitoring list. After Su-Jean appeared, he had already entered this list. Director. There was a knock on the door and a woman walked in. Maria Hill. Level 9 Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury's assistant. How's Big Creek's plan going? Nick Fury asked. Everything goes well, it shouldn't take too long. Maria Hill hesitated for a moment and said, have you really decided? I think this is a very risky behavior. How is the selection? Nick Fury did not answer, but continued to ask. Maria Hill knew that his decision would not be changed, so she had no choice but to hand over the documents she brought with her. Nick Fury opened it and looked at it. There are records of several people on it. Melinda May, nicknamed Knight, Leo Fitz, an expert in high-tech weapons physics, Gemma Simmons, biologist and high-tech weapons expert, Grant Ward, Operations Specialist, Level 7 Agent. And the last one, Sky, Super Hacker and member of Rising Tide. Looking at the list, Nick Fury hesitated for a moment and said, "Let's add one more, Su Zhan." But before Maria Hill finished speaking, Nick Fury interrupted with a wave of his hand. "His abilities are very special, and his identity is very mysterious. We don't know whether he is evil yet, so it is easier to judge if he joins the team. What's more, he is now with Sky together. I'm afraid it will be difficult to separate them. Just leave it like this, give this list to him when the time comes, and let him handle it by himself." "Yes. She seems to have a very unusual relationship with you." Sky suddenly asked. Su Zhan said dumbly, "I thought you would ask about the situation, but I didn't expect you would ask this first. A woman's intuition is very accurate. I noticed the way she looked at you." Sky said. "I also noticed that it was a wary look. She came to invite us to S.H.I.E.L.D., but I didn't think it would be very friendly, so I refused. However, she knew your identity." Su Zhan explained. He said, "But it doesn't seem to be a big trouble, so you can ignore it for now. You just need to know that no matter what the situation, if someone wants to deal with you, they must first step on my body. Because you are my girlfriend." "I know, honey." Sky smiled sweetly, and the little jealousy disappeared. "But dear, you are so powerful. Pyro John is a very powerful guy. I didn't expect that he is no match for you. And, you have absorbed his ability, right? So, you can control fire now. Of course, if you want, I'll set off fireworks for you tonight." Su Zhan said with a smile. "Okay." Sky said happily. Chapter 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a man, keeping your word is the most basic thing, so at night, Su Zhan took Sky to the roof of a building and let her enjoy a very dazzling fireworks, especially watching the controlled flames turn into, "I love you, Sky." Sky definitely felt that this might be the happiest time in her life. "My dear, am I more beautiful or is Black Widow more beautiful?" Sky suddenly asked while lying in Su Zhan's arms. Su Zhan couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that all women in love were the same, even Sky was no exception. He didn't answer, he just held her chin to tilt her head up, and then kissed her hard. It took almost 10 minutes before the two separated. Sky looked at Su Zhan in a daze, and leaned hard against him, almost wishing that he could blend into one. "It's cold, let's go back." Su Zhan said softly. "Okay, but you have to carry me down." Sky said coquettishly. "It's my pleasure." Su Zhan picked up Sky and turned around to go down. Back in the car, Sky thought that Su Zhan might take advantage of this atmosphere to do something to her, but who knew that Su Zhan just hugged her tenderly. "You don't want to do anything?" Sky asked softly. Su Zhan said with a smile, "Of course, I really want to, really want to. You have to know that every day with you is a test of willpower for me, but I don't think this is the place. It's a great welcome, some things are worth remembering, so naturally we have to leave the best memories. My dear, you are so good to me, I love you," Sky murmured movedly. At this moment, she decided that she should have no reservations about Su Zhan. "My dear, actually I have a secret that I haven't told you. I didn't mean to hide it from you, but I didn't know how to say it, because it might be a little dangerous for you." "What's going on?" Su Zhan asked, looking at Sky, who suddenly revealed his secret. "Actually, the reason why I became a hacker and learned these technologies is to investigate my life experience. I want to know who my parents are. And the place with the best chance of investigating it is S.H.I.E.L.D. I joined Rising Tide organization, and oppose S.H.I.E.L.D. On the one hand, I feel that they are not qualified to hide many things that they have the right to know from the world. On the other hand, I also hope to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Sky said slowly, "It's just, if I join S.H.I.E.L.D., I will join too." Su Zhan said without hesitation, "Wherever you go, I will go." What's more, you don't have to worry about what S.H.I.E.L.D. will do to me. Maybe they themselves hope that by joining, I can not only help them with work, but also monitor me more easily. But. No buts. You don't have to think that I will be in trouble or dangerous. In fact, it's not bad to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, there is nothing to do now. It's not bad to be a superhero, Su-Jean interrupted her and said with a smile. Okay, this matter is settled. If there is a chance, I will join S.H.I.E.L.D. with you. Thanks, Sky said softly. Fool, go to sleep, patting Sky's shoulder gently, Su-Jean smiled. Not for his own purposes, but just for Sky's sake, Su-Jean was willing to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Chapter 0011 Copy Mission. The system upgrade is completed and the copy mission is started. In his sleep, Su-Jean vaguely heard the voice. He originally thought it was Sky talking to him, but when he reacted, he realized that it was the system in his brain. System upgrade. When was it upgraded? Why didn't I know? What does the dungeon mission mean? Su-Jean glanced at Sky, who was sleeping next to him, and silently asked the system in his heart, he doesn't even know when the system was upgraded. When you devour and absorb abilities, although these abilities will be converted into your own, they will also generate an energy to provide system upgrades. So, after I absorbed the Extremis virus and the fire control ability, you upgraded. The energy required for the upgrade came from my ability to absorb it. Will this weaken the power of the ability? No, this is additional energy generated. That's okay. Su-Jean breathed a sigh of relief, and then continued to ask, what's the status of the dungeon mission? The dungeon mission is a channel that allows you to improve your strength as quickly as possible. You can choose the dungeon plane by yourself. It is a completely independent plane. You can do what you want to do to improve your strength. At the same time, enter the dungeon tasks will be released later. If you complete the task, you can get rewards and provide energy for system upgrades so that the system can open more functions. Is this still possible? This is simply cheating. I was worried about letting go of my devouring ability, but I didn't expect that there would be a dungeon mission. How long can I stay in the dungeon mission? Can I use the things or people in the dungeon mission? Bring it out. Also, next time, can I enter this dungeon or open other dungeons? Su-Jean thought of several key questions and asked them in series. The current level of the system is too low. You can only stay in the dungeon for 12 hours and cannot bring anything out. The dungeon mission is reset every 30 days. You can choose to enter the dungeon plane you have already entered or open a new one. Plane. However, there can only be one copy plane. Also, the higher the system level, the more changes in copy tasks. In other words, as long as the level of the system is high, the things just mentioned are possible. So, if I devour abilities in the dungeon, will it generate the energy needed for upgrading? Can. That's fine. Su-Jean breathed a sigh of relief and thought about the first dungeon plane. This plane must have enough ability for itself to absorb and upgrade the system, so that it can obtain more benefits. However, you can only stay for 12 hours now, and you can enter once every 30 days, so you must make good use of it. Su-Jean carefully thought about the movies or TV series he knew, and chose the first plane. Finally, he decided to enter the plane of superpower. Superpower is also called superhero. The story is roughly as follows. The protagonist Nick's father was genetically modified by a secret organization to become a perfect assassin, but he died tragically in the end. Full of grief, Nick vowed to take revenge on the secret organization. Nick then infiltrated the underworld in Hong Kong to prepare a revenge plan. Not only did he convene a group of highly skilled partners, he also cooperated with Kathy Holmes, a girl who can predict the future. With her help, they jointly tracked the whereabouts of a stolen suitcase. Since the suitcase may kill the mysterious organization, it also becomes the key to their revenge. By working together, they successfully deceived the assassins and discovered the mysterious organization's latest weapon, a powerful new experimental drug named. The moment of decisive battle finally arrived. this is a movie mainly about superpowers. The reason why it is impressive is that many of the powers are quite good. For example, the protagonist can move objects with his mind and can also move the mind shield. Simply put, this is the ability to control thoughts. There are also superpowers that can emit high-frequency sound waves, the prophetic ability to predict the future, memory erasure, mind control, and the ability to be tracked through items. These abilities. There was originally a bottle of potion about superpowers, but I couldn't bring it out, which was a bit regretful. Of course, the reason why Su-Jean was deeply impressed by this movie is because the movie stars Captain America. Secondly, the story mainly takes place in Hong Kong. The villain prophet is played by Li Xiaolu, and the appearance is still the same. Very good, the time to stay is limited, and he doesn't know what tasks will be released at that time, so Su-Jean's plan is to devour all the abilities as much as possible. Even if he doesn't like many abilities, they can provide the system with the ability to upgrade. Then, give up this plane and choose a new one. There is no other way, not only to become stronger, but also to upgrade the system. He must devour as much power as possible. System, I still have a few questions. If I give up this plane and upgrade in the future, can I choose this plane again? If so, will this plane start again, or will it be inherited? Also, if I enter the copy plane, my body will also enter, right? You can choose the plane you have entered before and continue it. Yes, your body and spirit will be transferred to the dungeon together. If you die in the dungeon, it will be your real death. I understand. The choice of the dungeon plane is indeed very important. Su-Jean glanced at Sky and silently said to the system, select the superpower plane and let me in now. Chapter 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Select superpower on the plane and start entering. That the system voice sounded. Su-Jean suddenly found himself on a busy street. The sun was shining brightly, the noise was noisy, and people around him were coming and going. He didn't feel at all how surprising Su-Jean's sudden appearance was. It's indeed Hong Kong. Looking at the familiar skin colors around him, Su-Jean felt a little strange. Is this the dungeon plane? Welcome to the superpower plane. Mission release, main mission, obtain more than 3 abilities. Faction optional, justice or evil. What does camp mean? Su-Jean asked curiously. Justice or evil, as the name suggests, is whether you choose to be a good person or a bad person. Friendly reminder, if you want to be a king, you cannot avoid being in the darkness, incarnate the darkness, and understand the darkness, so choosing the evil camp will give you extra rewards. Is this still possible? Su-Jean was surprised and somewhat doubted whether this dungeon plane was specifically used to vent negative emotions. However, since there were additional bonuses, he naturally chose evil without hesitation. Faction selection, evil, forcibly turning on the evil heart. The duration is until you leave the dungeon. As the voice fell, Su-Jean felt something was different about himself. He subconsciously raised the corners of his mouth, and his originally gentle smile became a little evil. Chapter 0012 The Benefits of an Evil Heart. The movie did not clearly indicate the year and time. Walking on the street and looking at the endless flow of people, Su-Jean wondered what he should do. Since the time I have to stay is limited, that means the plot has probably already started or is about to start. There are 3 parties in the plot. One is the protagonist and his friends, one is their enemy, an organization that studies supernatural powers, and will arrange agents to come, including a big boss, and the remaining party is Hong Kong, there is a family of 4 people with superpowers called vampires. The father's ability is unknown. The 2 brothers can send out sonic attacks, and the sister, Li Xiaolu, is a prophet and can predict the future. Because she always held a lollipop when she appeared, she was called the Lollipop Girl in the movie. The main mission is to obtain more than 3 abilities. There are many people with superpowers here. More than 3 types are absolutely no problem. However, there are prophets in this world, that is, people with superpowers who can predict the future. I don't know if they can predict the future. I exist just in case, so I'd better kill the prophet first and gain abilities. There are two prophets here, one is the Bang Bang girl Li Xiaolu, and the other, like the protagonist, is a second-generation superpower. In order to save her from the present, she came to cooperate with the male protagonist in order to find the special potion brought by the heroine. Who should we start with? Su Zhan showed an evil smile and started thinking about it as he walked away. At this moment, he suddenly saw someone out of the corner of his eye. A man who looks a little ugly and a little fierce is one of the two sonic powers. If he is here, then the other people should also be there. Now that we've met, let's start with you. Su Zhan smiled evilly and walked directly towards him. Sorry, could you help me? Su Zhan walked up to him and patted his shoulder. The Sonic Man frowned and stared at him in displeasure. Oh, I forgot, I have a fire myself. Su Zhan smiled and took out John's lighter and turned it on, the flame pulsating slightly. Your sister is a prophet, right? I really want to know if she knows how you died. You. The Sonic Man was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted instantly and was about to open his mouth to activate the sonic wave, but as soon as he opened his mouth, Su Zhan directly controlled the flame from the lighter to fly into his mouth. The hot flame instantly burned Sonic Man's throat, rendering him unable to make any sound. Su Zhan sneered and raised his hands, grabbing his neck and shoulders, and pushed him towards a remote alley. Don't move around and be obedient, otherwise it will destroy more than just your throat. Su Zhan threatened in a low voice and pushed him into the alley. Seeing the Sonic Man holding his throat in pain, Su Zhan remained unmoved and said easily, You can expect your sister to sense your situation and save you, but I only give you 5 minutes. After saying that, Su Zhan really didn't continue to do anything. He just fiddled with the lighter one after another. The 5 minutes passed quickly, whether it was long or short. It's a pity. It seems that she can't sense it. Then, you can rest easy. After saying that, Su Zhan suddenly grabbed his neck and activated his devouring ability instantly, very easily. Su Zhan had already taken away his ability. Strange, it seems that my devouring ability has become stronger. Is it because I am stronger, or is it because of my evil heart, that the devouring process went extremely smoothly without any hindrance? Although he didn't know the reason, this feeling made Su Zhan feel very good. Try this ability and see how it goes. Looking at the limp Sonic Man, Su Zhan opened his mouth and instantly launched a sonic attack. Harsh sounds came out, bang bang bang, boom. The surrounding glass and windows exploded one after another. The Sonic Man lay on the ground covering his ears and struggled in pain. Before long, blood was coming out of his ears, corners of his mouth, and eyes. After a moment, it became still. This ability is pretty good. Although it's not cool enough, it's pretty powerful. Su Zhan nodded with satisfaction, turned and left the alley, but did not go far. He sat down at a snack stall next to the alley, ordered a bowl of noodles, and ate quietly. He is waiting. Wait for others to show up. This Sonic Man is here, so the others should be nearby too. There was such a big noise just now, they should be able to detect it. Su Zhan planned to stay here, wait and see, and deal with them together. However, after waiting for a long time, no one came even after finishing the noodles, which made Su Zhan frown slightly. Could it be that they are not nearby or already know something? It's also possible that Bang Bang Girl doesn't have a good relationship with them, and even if she can't predict herself, she should be able to predict Sonic Man. After all, she is an outsider, but Sonic Man is a plot character. You know Sonic Man is dead, so you don't dare to come. Prophet, it's really troublesome. Su Zhan shook his head and left the stall. The movie didn't say where they were, but it did mention the protagonist's home. As long as you find the protagonist, you can find another prophet. It would be good to deal with her first. If you can get the ability of the prophet, you can also make it easier for him to find other people. Soon, Su Zhan had arrived downstairs at the protagonist's house, and happened to see two foreigners going up. These two people are from the organization. The purpose of coming to the protagonist is for the escaped heroine. They have the ability to track through objects. As long as they smell or touch, they can feel the user's past. What have you done? Let you live a little longer for the time being. After all, if I kill you, the prophet will know. Seeing them entering the protagonist's home, Su Zhan looked around, because, after they leave, the prophet will appear to find the hero, and the plot will officially begin. Therefore, at this time, the prophet should be nearby and should be arriving soon.